So the next to speak is Terri Feist. Terri Feist is account manager for Thalamus. So Terri.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, it's just a real pleasure to be invited. Thank you, Chris, for putting this together. I think all of us here on this panel and in the GME world would agree about how important and how critical the coordinator role is to so many. And so I'm happy to share my story and how I went through different things along in a parallel manner with Michelle and Chris in the neurology world, and kind of got to where I am today. And a lot of what each of you have said so far has really resonated with me as well. So my background, I have a bachelor's of business administration. And I was in GME for 12 years at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. I truly, truly loved my position, but like many of us in this role, I kind of stumbled into it. So I had no knowledge, like Jessica had said, I did not know anything at all about residency and fellowships and ACGME requirements and all of that. So all of that was brand new. And I was starting on at the same time as a brand new program director. So the two of us really learned it together. And that was a lot of hard work and time, a lot of fun too. So I learned pretty quickly how demanding the job is. It's very complicated, complex, but it was also really rewarding. The residents, the faculty, everybody that we worked with, you truly form these bonds that are very long lasting. And for coordinators that are in the GME world for a long time, I think that's the driving force. Like we truly, truly love the recruitment process and meeting them and then growing with them throughout the course of their residency. But after, 2 years in the role, I knew it was just so complicated and there was very, very little support. At the national level for me in child neurology, as well as just within friends and colleagues and within my own institution. So I really, really wanted to find a way to build a network and a support chain for coordinators in my specialty, which was child neurology. So I co-founded a national association. And we started that back in 2014, and this year was the 8th annual Child Neurology Coordinator Association meeting. So the team has really jumped in and kept that going and really helped grow it. But it was challenging at first because we really, like Michelle said, we really had to fight for the seat at the table. And the Child Neurology Society is extremely supportive and has been wonderful with everything. So that was a good start. So I really had to put myself out there at that moment. And I kind of learned that that was just a big growing point for me and I realized that I was starting to make a little bit of an impact. But when I started that group, I had a thought in my mind that turnover in the world of the GME coordinator role was really high, but I really wasn't sure. So I started tracking it in my specialty, and I tracked it year over year over year. And it was shocking, but also maybe not so shocking to learn that it was 35% of the coordinators year over year turned over. And so sometimes, like when I'm explaining what GME coordinator role is to people, I'll say, like, you're like the quarterback of the football team, like always making sure everybody's got their handoff or their pass or things. So picture the football team losing their quarterback, that often, right? And then that didn't even tell the whole story. Some of the programs lost their coordinator 2 or 3 times in the same year. So how does a program stay viable and competitive and meet their requirements and the regulations without feeling like they're constantly kind of sinking and trying to tread water? So we started doing research from the beginning with our group, and we completed survey research. And when we analyzed those results, we did publish those. And, you know, it really brought home some of my thoughts. It confirmed it, that the GME structure in so many places is set up in a way that turnover is really inevitable. There are so many institutions that still do not have a career path for the coordinator. There are so many people, someone mentioned before, working 9 to 5, and we all, you know, chuckle, like, you know, your job's going past 5 p.m. and on the weekends, and so many that are not getting paid for overtime. They're not salaried and they're not getting paid overtime. So many coordinators report to people that have no GME experience. So your supervisor and your manager that, you know, is controlling the workload has no concept of what we do. And it's very difficult to kind of explain what GME is and all the rules and regulations. So that's kind of like how I've been motivated, and I've always been trying to make it a little bit easier for coordinators. So within our national group and with Michelle, with a neurology group, you know, we started sharing everything. Like, there's no need to recreate the wheel. Let's, you know, share what we've got and put it all together. And, you know, that, I think that's the way the Facebook group is as well. Like, it's that kind of same mentality. So after, you know, fast forward a couple of years, I'm still in the child neurology group. I'm always trying to learn a little bit more, you know, just take courses here and there. And so I purchased a LinkedIn Learning subscription, and I had stumbled across some project management courses and had taken a couple here and there, and just really started thinking, as I was taking the courses, just learning that a lot of what we do as coordinators, I think, truly fit into the world of project management. There's so many things that we do that have a start date and an end date. The committees, the PEC, the CCC, the self-study, so many of those things are things that we manage. And so when the self-study comes out, or when, you know, a requirement is put forth, the coordinator is the one that, you know, the end deadline, you know, the start time, you know, where you have to be to get there throughout the whole phase. And so you're kind of the one running the show. So it's, you know, started really getting me going, like, okay, I want to look into this project management certification. So that was my next kind of career shift, that I started really looking into that. And I thought, I'm going to go for it. So I applied to the PMI, which is the Project Management Institute. One of the requirements is you have to complete a 35-hour course in project management. So I completed that. I submitted my application. I had my test date set, and the pandemic hit. And so pandemic cancels all test dates. Everything got put on the back burner. GME was just absolutely crazy. Anybody in GME at that time, it was just crazy. So the PMP idea got put on the back burner, but it still was in my mind. And at that time, also, my program director stepped down. So I thought, you know what, now I think might be a good time to pursue this and really stick with it, and you know, schedule the exam. So I did, and I passed it, and I was so excited, but I really wasn't sure where or how or what I wanted to do, what my next step would be. So I just kind of started looking around and keeping my ears open, and just hoping. I'm someone who definitely, I am passionate about what I do. And so when I saw the position open for Thalamus, where I'm at now, I applied right away. I had used the program for a couple of years in my previous position, and I know firsthand how much time it saved me with all of the manual work that I used to do. I see Karen shaking her head. Yeah, I mean, just hours and hours of time that it saved me. So for me, this was just a perfect opportunity. And my faculty and all my residents, when I told them that I was leaving, they were all thrilled for me to be going to such a great company. And Jessica, you had mentioned the process of becoming a doctor. Yeah, the residency recruitment process is not how we would have thought before we got into it, and it's quite stressful. And part of the reason why I love this new environment is Thalamus Jason the CEO went through the recruitment process himself and was impacted by a hurricane. And so that's kind of how Thalamus got born. So I'm working still with people that are passionate, equally passionate, really, about improving the world of graduate medical education. And so I think, a few thoughts for others are just, put yourself out there. I'm a big fan of Brene Brown, and showing your vulnerability. And like, I had never given a presentation before, and I do all the time now, or I had been. And it's not something that I originally had planned to do, and I wasn't planning when I started out of getting the PMP certification, but I know my gut and I know myself and I know what motivates me. And so kind of like just following those leads to pursue things. And also just knowing that sometimes you might have to give up a little bit of some free time. Like I really had to set aside 5 or 6 weeks to really study for the PMP exam. And I gave up my weekend activities and had some long hours in the evening studying after I would get off work. So, it's something that if you find something that interests you and have a passion, and you can set aside the time to do that, it really can pay off personally and professionally. So yeah, that's really my story. I'm thrilled to be a part of everything.